The wedding drums echoed through the open-air chapel, waves whispering against the Bahamian shore. Kahlil Mercer stood at the altar, his heart steady for the first time in years. Beside him, Amara Wynne glowed in white silk, the perfect image of peace, until a voice cut through the music. "Dad, don't marry her," gasps rippled across the guests. His 13-year-old son, Jayden, stood trembling in the aisle, clutching a folder in his hands. What he held inside would shatter every vow, every promise, and every illusion Kahlil thought was love. The morning sun warmed the blue curve of Nassau Harbor, glinting off the polished deck of Kahlil Mercer's waterfront villa. Inside, the scent of dark roast drifted from the kitchen as he stirred cream into 2 mugs. His phone buzzed again. "You really gonna do it? Get married again?" The question hangs in the kitchen before the sun has warmed the bay. From the hallway came the soft shuffle of bare feet on tile. Jayden appeared, his curls tousled, one sleeve of his oversized t-shirt slipping off a shoulder. "You're up early," Kahlil said. Kahlil set down the spoon. He let the silence breathe for a second. "Yeah," he said finally. "Love deserves a second try." He slid the drawer open. The old ring caught light, then darkness as he closed it. Jayden didn't move, but his eyes held steady. "You said Mom never hid things from you. How well do you really know Amara?" The spoon clinked porcelain. Outside, gulls cried over the calm water. Kahlil didn't answer right away. He didn't have to. An hour later, Amara Wynne swept in through the front gate with a pastry bag in one hand and a folded tabloid under her arm. She wore pale linen, something between peach and coral, and her stride had a soft rhythm, sandals tapping lightly on the stone path. "Peace offering," she said, waving the bag like a flag before dropping a kiss on Kahlil's cheek. Her voice was melodic, measured, never rushed. Jayden gave her a small nod, barely looking up from his phone. Kahlil passed him a plate anyway. Amara sat across from them and pulled out a folder. "Thought I'd tackle our paperwork early. Insurance stuff. Boring, but necessary." "Term life on you with an accidental rider," she added. "Term or whole?" Kahlil asked softly. "Whichever keeps the premium low and safe," Amara said, dodging the question. Kahlil smiled politely and reached for a pastry. Jayden didn't. He watched her flip open the folder, eyes narrowing. "What kind of insurance?" "Life, mostly." She didn't look up. "It's just grown-up planning, sweetheart." Her perfume, salt and vanilla, lingered a little too long in the room. "Paperwork is how grown folks plan forever," she added with a smile. Jayden blinked slowly, then stood and left without finishing his breakfast. Kahlil reached for another sip of coffee, choosing peace over questions. The Marina Cafe was only a few blocks away, tucked between a dive shop and a faded surfboard rental stand. Kahlil met Rico Vaughn there just before noon. They sat under a patched umbrella, sunlight pushing through the frayed fabric, sharing a plate of grilled snapper and fries. "You sure about those forms?" Rico asked, spearing a bite. "Mixing love and money? That's some deep water." "Brother," Kahlil grinned. "I'm not rich enough for a prenup, but too tired for drama." Rico laughed. "Man, the ocean looks calm till you see what's under it." He picked at his food, then added, "If you add a rider for marine activities, underwriting will ask frequency of sailing or diving. Don't sign before reading the questions." A boat motor coughed nearby, and the breeze changed, bringing smoke, sea salt, and grease. They ate without speaking for a moment, both watching the tide roll in. That night, Kahlil sat on the edge of his bed, a glass of water in one hand. Across from him on the nightstand was a framed photo. Lena, his late wife, smiling in front of a garden they once built together. They used to build a heather garden behind the house. The frame was old. The picture had faded in patches. He stared at it until the silence felt heavy. "She's not you, Lena," he whispered. "Just someone who makes me remember life." Outside, a dock radio hissed faintly between stations, the static wrapping around the scent of candle wax. Dinner was snapper again, this time roasted with lime and rice. Amara brought out wine and waited until Kahlil had finished eating before sliding the folder across the table. He opened it without comment. "Atlantic Shield Life and Marine," she said. "Joint coverage, 1.5 million, accidental rider included, especially for offshore travel." He paused half a beat at contingent beneficiary. "Put the boy's name in," he said. "Let me focus on us first," she smiled. The fans murmured. His pen moved. A thin line of ink seals the page. "It's just to secure our future," she added, leaning forward. The next afternoon, at a quiet cafe tucked beside a souvenir shop on Paradise Island, Amara met with Leon Fraser, an independent insurance broker. He wore a beige linen shirt, a smart watch, and too much cologne. Leon flipped through a digital tablet as she sipped her espresso. "You listed him as a marine consultant," he said, frowning. "That might trigger an elevated premium." "He sails maybe twice a year," Amara replied, brushing a curl behind her ear. "Just put occasional recreational sailing. That's accurate enough." Leon hesitated, then tapped in the change. "Fine, just remember, if he dives too deep, the rider won't apply. Contestability period is 2 years. Don't trigger extra medical checks," he added. Her bracelets clinked as she signed the revised forms. A receipt printed at 12:41 p.m. between them. 2 names side by side. That evening, Jayden sat on the stairs outside his room, legs tucked under him, phone in hand. Through the cracked door of Kahlil's office, he heard Amara's voice. "The deadline's before the honeymoon. Leon will handle the forms." Jayden's thumb slid across his screen. A soft click. On his screen, a file name stamped itself. VN 20.4.06.11. Recording. It wasn't proof. It was a start. He looked down the hall toward his father's room. The lights were already off. Jayden whispered, "Something's not right," and saved the file. Outside, the tide tapped against the seawall like a question waiting for an answer. At sunrise, the balcony glowed gold. Kahlil stood with his arm around Amara, both watching the ocean roll. Her fingers slipped into his, and he held on without thinking. For the first time in years, he felt steady. Behind the gauze curtain inside, Jayden stood watching. His eyes were clouded, his phone clenched tight in his hand. The waves shimmered gold, beautiful, deceptive, endless. The kitchen smelled like toasted bread and hot butter. Kahlil flipped eggs into a pan while Jayden leaned against the counter, arms folded tight across his chest. "Who were you talking to last night?" Jayden asked. "Around 11? Amara looked up from her mug. The smile came fast, too fast. "Just Leon, a few last-minute forms." Butter hissed in the skillet. Kahlil turned, frowning, not at the question, but at Jayden's tone. "You know we're all trying here." Jayden's jaw worked for a second. He backed off. "Yeah." Steam curled up from the pan. Tension sat in the room, thick as the heat. Kahlil plated breakfast without another word. "Trust is what keeps this family afloat," he said, setting down the forks. Mid-morning, Kahlil's phone lit up with a text from Rico. "Rico, careful bro, paper cuts deeper than knives." A second bubble followed, a link to a local report about a surge in life insurance fraud. Kahlil scrolled halfway, paused. Then his thumb hovered, and he deleted it. The soft ping of the message vanishing made him feel like he'd chosen calm. He told himself, not every love story hides a ledger. By noon, Amara was waiting in the office with a folded brochure in her lap. A white catamaran skimmed the cover, glossy and inviting. A charter honeymoon, she said. 3 days offshore. We anchor near the Exumas. Kahlil skimmed the package. The final line in bold read, active insurance confirmation required for reservation. We'll be surrounded by water. No Wi-Fi, no noise, she said. Just us, the stars, and the open sea. He hesitated only a second before typing his name into the confirmation email. He signed the agency copy. Late afternoon, Leon Fraser showed up in a short-sleeved shirt, sweating through the collar. Final binders from Atlantic Shield Life and Marine, he announced, slapping the folder onto the counter. Kahlil opened the forms. Page 7. The medical assessment was already filled out, but the exam date was next Friday. 2 handwritings. One lighter, one pressed hard. He looked up. How are their results if the exam's next week? Leon shrugged. Administrative timing. Some things move faster behind the desk. Air conditioning hummed overhead. The toner smell from the freshly printed sheets made the pages feel warm in his hands. If he pushed now, she would shut every door. He needed proof first. Leon added, "You're officially protected, Mr. Mercer." Kahlil signed. The sun was low when a new ping landed in Kahlil's inbox. From no reply, atlanticshield.com to Amara, Alt Plus Insurer, Ref A23061. The subject, we received your application. The policy contact was set to her alias. Kahlil clicked the address, saved the message, then closed the tab. The waves outside were just audible beneath the sound. Strange, he thought. How'd it reach her inbox first? Later that night, Amara's purse tipped off the couch. A flash drive hit the floor. Jayden, walking past, stooped to help. He picked it up. Think this fell out? Upstairs, he slid it into his tablet. He toggled view only, then mirrored the contents to a read-only folder, preserving all timestamps. A temporary file flickered to life. Claim package, V3 docs, the laptop fan whispered. His heartbeat didn't. I'll just hold a backup, he muttered. Dinner was grilled mahi with pepper sauce, and the table had almost settled when Jayden asked, "How's Leon? He seems busy lately." Amara's fork froze halfway to her mouth. It was just a flicker, but Kahlil saw it. Then came the wet shine in her eyes. She didn't speak, just looked at Kahlil, wounded. Jayden set down his water. "Why can't we just be happy, Kahlil?" Amara said quietly. Her voice cracked on the word, happy. Kahlil reached for her hand. He's still adjusting. He hated how quickly the guilt came. The scrape of Jayden's fork on his plate sounded louder than it should have. That night, Kahlil sat alone in his office. Jayden's questions had stuck, so he opened his email. Nothing from Atlantic Shield. He searched by policy number. The system returned Amara's folder, not his. All records redirected. Every update, every alert. He leaned back, exhaled once. Then slowly, he took screenshots and saved them to a secure drive. The laptop's glow reflected in his glasses. "Don't make ghosts where there are none," he whispered. The next morning, Rico called. "Stopped by the Marina Cafe," he said. "You won't like this." A minute later, an image appeared on Kahlil's phone. The cafe's security feed, Amara and Leon, time-stamped 12:41 p.m. The same time from the receipt Jayden had found earlier. Amara wore the same linen blouse she'd worn the day she'd brought home the policy folder. They weren't touching, but they weren't strangers. Seagulls screeched over the diesel reek in the photo's blurred background. "The manager owed me a favor and pulled the midday clip," Rico added. Still looking at the image, he said, "Still think it's paperwork, love?" Kahlil didn't reply. That night, lightning blinked over the bay. Amara breathed steady beside him, the covers tucked under her chin. Each flash traced a thin, silver line of doubt across the ceiling. Outside, the ocean shifted color. Silver to slate, foreshadowing the break to come. The morning was gray, the air heavy with salt. Kahlil's phone buzzed across the nightstand. He answered groggily. "Her name came up again," Rico said. "My contact at the insurer saw an internal pre-filled claim packet opened under your policy profile. Initiated through Leon's broker portal, Amara listed as claimant." Kahlil sat up fast. "Claim? There hasn't been an incident." "That's the point," Rico said. "Somebody's moving ahead of time." Kahlil opened his laptop. His inbox blinked with a copy. He didn't delete. Instead, he saved the headers, printed the email to PDF, and tucked it into a secure folder. A hidden file tree deep in his system. His fingers rested on the keys. Cold crept down his chest. "Somebody's cashing in on you, brother," Rico said. Keyboard clicks echoed in the villa's silence. Later that morning, Amara drove off for what she called a final beauty appointment. The tires crunched against the driveway gravel until the sound faded. Kahlil moved to her office. He opened the lower drawer. Inside lay the policy binder, heavy with paper, Atlantic Shield Life and Marine, title page stamped and neat. A yellow tab marked the accidental death benefit rider. Her name circled twice in pink ink. He flipped through page after page. Amara's signature appeared at every bottom line, looping, flawless. The designation never changed. Primary beneficiary, Amara Wynn. In the corner of one sheet, a faint red smear. Lipstick. The paper edge sliced his thumb. He pressed it to his lips. Behind him, Jayden stood quiet in the doorway. Kahlil exhaled slowly. "You might be right." Jayden didn't smile. His voice was steady. "Then we have to stop her. Dad." They sat in the den with Jayden's tablet. On the screen glowed the file, Claim Package V3 Docs. Together, they scrolled. The report described a boating collision near Clifton Bay. Witnesses named. People Kahlil had never heard of. No metadata. No digital signature. No traceable timestamp. It had been composed offline, built deliberately to hide its trail. Kahlil inhaled through his nose. He launched a screen record, saved the scroll, then exported to PDF. He calculated a SHA-256 hash and attached it. Finally, he uploaded the packet through the Bahamian police e-portal. Evidence receipt code, Jolmore32. The hum of the computer fan filled the room, his jaw locked. "If it's real," he said, "we'll make sure she can't erase it." By noon, Rico pulled them in through a side lot at the courthouse. They climbed the stairs, keeping low. On the balcony above the courthouse square, they met Inspector Dara Wells, mid-40s, her gray blazer sharp, her hair tied back neat. Financial Crimes Division. She scanned the packet in her hands without blinking. "No loss, no crime," she said flatly. "Not yet." "But she filed the packet," Jayden pressed. Wells tapped her pen against the folder. "Means we watch. We don't arrest. Not until there's an attempt." She opened a thin file labeled Preliminary Track 17. "Take screenshots with visible date stamps. Hash your uploads. Paper trails talk louder than panic." She glanced at Kahlil. "Intel's good for direction, not admission. I'll subpoena custodian-certified records." Behind them, the rain began. The scent of ocean spray rolled through the balcony. That evening, the villa door banged open. Amara's heels struck hard against the tile. "You went through my private files?" Her eyes were fire. Kahlil sat still on the sofa. "I was looking for tax receipts." Her expression softened instantly, the rage cooling like water poured on stone. "I just want our marriage to start without suspicion," she said, stepping close. Her perfume filled the air, thicker than usual. Sweet. Too sweet. That night, Rico texted twice. The first file, a still image from the cafe manager's CCTV, timestamped 12:41. Amara and Leon seated close. The same time Jayden's receipt had shown. The second, a screenshot forwarded by Leon's internal source. A wire transfer photo lining up with the date on Amara's printed charter itinerary. Wells responded quickly. She'd need a subpoena for custodian-certified bank logs and a warrant for Leon's phone records. The stills would guide the request. The screen glowed in Kahlil's hands. His ribs felt heavier than fear. Denial gone. "It's all connected, bro," Rico's last text read. "She's setting the scene." The next morning, Wells called again. "A whistleblower from Atlantic Shield slipped us the underwriting file. Not official yet. The file listed Amara as fiancé, sole beneficiary within contestability period. No marriage certificate, no shared accounts, no joint proof." "Then why did it clear?" Kahlil asked. "Because someone inside fast-tracked it," Wells said. "She stamped it. Probable fraud. Surveillance approved." "This is intel," she added. "Not evidence. I'll move for a subpoena to get custodian-certified copies." Her pen tapped. The fax machine spit out another page. "Too clean to be honest," she said. That night, Kahlil lingered in the kitchen. He held his phone in one hand. Thumb poised over Wells' contact. He could call her, stop the wedding, end it. But Jayden's face came to mind. Hopeful, worried, loyal. 13 years watching his father try to rebuild. Kahlil slid the phone back into his pocket. "One more day," he whispered. "Let her reveal herself." Thunder rolled across the bay, low and constant. At Seabreeze Wharf, Leon stood in a raincoat, collar turned up. The boards beneath him were slick. Amara walked down in flats, hair wrapped in a scarf. "You said I'd get paid," Leon snapped. "I want my balance." "You will," she said. "After the honeymoon," he glared. "I don't trust you." She turned to go. He pulled out his burner phone and hit record. Rain hammered the tin roof. Boats clinked against their ropes. "Don't make me chase you, Amara," he said. Back at the villa, Jayden sat at his desk. He replayed the short audio from her late-night call. Faint background noise, then a voice. Leon's voice. "Tonight we close it." Jayden went still. She was planning something before dawn. He opened his drawer, took out the secondary flash drive. He mounted Amara's drive as read-only, created a forensic image, then mirrored the files. Preserved clean. The printer whirred to life. Rain tapped the window like fingers. "If Dad won't stop her," he said, "I will." On the dresser, 2 wedding rings gleamed under the dim lamp. Circles flawless, seamless, cold. In the mirror above, their reflection stared back. Twin symbols of perfection. On the surface, they shone. But glass cracks easiest where it looks strongest, and these were about to shatter. The open-air chapel shimmered under the Bahamian sun. White chairs fanning out across polished stone. Drums echoed against the surf, a deep, steady rhythm that carried over the waves. Kahlil Mercer adjusted his tie with a practiced calm that didn't reach his eyes. The salt air tugged gently at his jacket. He hadn't slept much. Behind him, Rico leaned in close. "You sure about this, brother?" Kahlil gave a quiet nod, eyes locked on the altar. "One way or another, it ends today." He had promised himself to confront Amara after the ceremony, privately, with dignity, not like this. But then again, nothing about this was ever meant to be quiet. Amara Wynne emerged from the archway, radiant in white silk. Her steps were slow, precise, the smile on her lips more painted than felt. Every eye turned, except hers. She scanned the crowd quickly, a flicker of calculation in her gaze. When she spotted Leon by the catering line, nodding subtly toward her, her shoulders eased just slightly. She exhaled and kept walking. The faint clink of champagne flutes floated through the warm breeze. "Just get through the words," she whispered under her breath. From his aisle seat, Jayden's stomach turned. He'd spotted Leon too, standing by the tech booth, whispering something to a staffer. The man beside him was the same voice from the 12-second recording. There was no doubt now. His fingers gripped the flash drive in his pocket. Sweat lined his palms. He looked up at Rico, who gave the smallest nod. Jayden leaned over and whispered, "Uncle Rico, it's him." His pulse drummed faster than the music. The AV technician at the booth tapped his earpiece. Rico's earlier instructions replayed in his mind. He opened the folder labeled Wedding Memories, already loaded, waiting. At Rico's subtle cue, the technician pressed play. The projector hummed to life. Rico whispered, "Now or never, kid." Jayden stepped toward the stage. His hands were shaking. The officiant lifted a hand, voice booming over the speakers. "Dearly beloved." The words barely landed before Jayden's voice sliced through the ceremony. "Dad, don't marry her!" Gasps rippled through the seated guests. The drums cut out mid-beat, heads turned, voices rising in murmurs. Amara stopped mid-step, her smile frozen. Jayden raised the flash drive high. "She's lying! Look at this!" The LED screen at the front lit up. Slide 1, a charter boat itinerary with a circled date, marked the morning after the wedding. Slide 2, an email from Leon. "You'll get your cut." Slide 3, a grainy photo of a life jacket strap, cleanly cut. The file tag read, "Maintenance Cam 17B, timestamp visible." Gasps turned to shouts. Guests stood. Amara stumbled back, her face draining of color. The electric hum of the projector buzzed beneath rising whispers. Kahlil stared at the screen, voice hollow. "Tell me this isn't real, Amara." From the third row, a man stood. "That's our feed," said Derek Cole, manager of the Seabreeze Wharf. "Maintenance Cam 17B, timestamp visible. We found that jacket last week." The officiant stepped back, nearly dropping his book. The PA system sputtered as static cracked. Rico, already dialing, whispered, "Inspector Wells, it's happening now." Wells had been staged just 2 blocks away, waiting. Across the courtyard, Leon cursed and shoved a security guard. He made a break for the outer path, but didn't get far. 2 hotel guards caught him near the garden, tackling him to the grass. Chairs scraped, guests backing away. A flute crashed against the stone. Moments later, Inspector Dara Wells stepped in with 2 uniformed officers. She flashed her badge, firm but calm. "Leon Frazier, you're under arrest on an active warrant for insurance fraud." Leon spat toward the ground. "You've got nothing." "We'll see about that," Wells replied. While officers secured Leon, Wells turned to Amara. "You're not under arrest," she said, "but I'll need you to come with us to give a statement." One officer took Amara's laptop and phone, sealed them into evidence bags, pending a warrant. Each bag labeled under evidence form, Chuck 27A. Seal tape ripped. A camera clicked. Wells offered a cool smile. "Just protocol, ma'am." Amara's mask cracked. She turned on Kahlil, voice shaking with fury. "You believe a child over me?" Jayden stood still, fists clenched. Kahlil stepped forward, shielding his son. "I believe what you built." Her veil whipped in the sea breeze. "You ruined everything," she screamed. Leon was dragged through the gate, still shouting. Reporters pressed closer. Guests murmured and dispersed, dresses fluttering in the wind. Wells handed Kahlil a small card. "We'll take your statements downtown. Stay close, Mr. Mercer. Chain of custody starts now." The sounds of radio static tangled with the steady hush of the surf. The patrol car pulled away. In its wake, silence, then wind. Kahlil stood beside Jayden, both unmoving beneath a drifting veil that spiraled from the broken altar. It caught in the wind, fluttering upward. The ocean beyond sparkled like broken glass. Calm, wide, deceptive, exactly as she'd planned it to be. The altar stood empty now. Guests had long since been escorted out, leaving behind only strewn petals on damp stone steps and overturned chairs slick with rain. The wedding canopy fluttered weakly in the sea breeze. Kahlil remained rooted, eyes fixed on the veil tangled near the front row, silk caught on a nail. His hands, once trembling, now hung motionless at his sides. Rico approached and gently touched his shoulder. "Come on, brother, let's give the truth a head start." Kahlil blinked, nodding once. He turned to Jayden, who stood at his side, gripping the empty flash drive like a talisman. "Jayden, stay close. We're not done yet." Outside, chaos waited. Reporters swarmed behind metal barriers, shouting questions as police guided Amara into the back of a marked SUV. She turned her head slightly, dark hair falling across her face, but didn't speak. Cameras clicked. Flash after flash caught her at the car door, in cuffs, surrounded. A microphone thrust forward. "Mr. Mercer, was it all a setup?" Kahlil raised a hand to shield Jayden's face from the lights. No comment. The harborfront precinct was chilled and fluorescent. In a side interview room, Kahlil sat across from Inspector Wells, a digital recorder blinking red between them. She tapped a form with her pen. "Start wherever you need to," she said. "We need clarity, not speed." Kahlil exhaled and began, date by date, meeting by meeting. He recounted Amara's words over breakfast, the folder, the signature line. Each phrase came out steady, clipped. The weight lifted with each word. In the evidence room, Rico unzipped a waterproof pouch and laid out the sealed USB, Jayden's phone, and the backup flash drive. Wells nodded and motioned to the tech. One by one, the devices were logged into the digital evidence portal. Each received a unique hash, locked with chain of custody labels. A printed submission receipt scrolled out. 0432. Kahlil signed first, then Jayden. "All items logged," Wells said. "Chain of custody begins here." The forensic tech previewed the files on a secure machine. Claim package V3, audio memo, the Seabreeze wharf image. The analyst frowned. "Some metadata's missing. These were edited offline." Wells stepped closer. "Do a deeper run. Also request cafe CCTV logs from Paradise Island. Clip 17B, timestamp 1241. The technician nodded. A soft click marked the beginning of the deeper scan. In a quieter room, Jayden sat alone with Wells. His damp blazer clung to the chair. "Tell me how you found the flash drive." He hesitated. "It slipped from her purse. I thought it might matter. I didn't open it right away, just copied it safe." Wells smiled gently. "You didn't steal it. You preserved it." His voice caught. "I just didn't want Dad to disappear." Down another corridor, Amara sat across from a detective. Her hands rested neatly on the table. She wore no makeup now. Her eyes were dry. "You booked the boat, arranged the itinerary." She raised an eyebrow. "He planned the trip, not me." The detective placed the bank transfer receipt and Leon's email beside her. "Coincidence," she said. "You're mistaking ambition for crime." Leon's interrogation room felt colder. His jacket dripped onto the floor. A light blinked on the recorder. Wells leaned in. "You received money from Amara's account on the same day as the forged claim package and the cut life jacket photo." Leon exhaled sharply. "Fine, she used me. I filled out the draft. She told me what to say." Rain battered the metal roof above. All she wanted was a clean accident. Late that night, after hours of statements and signatures, Wells walked Kahlil and Jayden to the parking lot. "You'll be under temporary witness protection," she said. "Stay available. The DA will follow up." The drive home was silent, just the gentle whir of tires against wet asphalt. At a stoplight, Kahlil reached across the seat, rested his hand on Jayden's shoulder. "No more secrets, son, ever." Jayden nodded. Back at the villa, orchids drooped with moisture. The scent of salt water clung to the walls. Jayden collapsed onto the couch, finally asleep, his hoodie still damp. Kahlil stood at the window, watching the tide slip over the rocks. Moonlight cut a soft path across the water, the same sea that almost took him. But tonight it shimmered with something else: stillness, reflection, and survival. The next morning, sunlight climbed the eastern wall of the police station. It glinted off the glass facade, streaking the floor tiles in copper and white. Kahlil sat upright in bed when his phone vibrated. Wells's voice was brisk. "We've cracked part of the drive. 3 policy templates, same exact phrasing, different names. They look like carbon copies." He didn't hesitate. "Whatever helps stop it. I'll testify if you need me." Coffee brewed in the background. Sea air drifted in through the open shutters. Kahlil reached for his notepad and jotted dates, names, keywords. The details were now more than memory. They were evidence. Later, alone at the villa, he sat on the edge of the couch, head bowed. Memories flickered like static. Amara's business calls taken on the balcony with her voice hushed but firm. The sudden cash deposits for wedding vendors. Her insistence on handling the insurance paperwork herself. He had called it love. Now, it looked like planning. He dialed Rico. "You were right. I didn't want to see it." Rico's voice was quiet. "Blind spots aren't weakness. They're the cost of trust. But now you've got your eyes open." Kahlil exhaled and looked out across the harbor. The sea was calm. The sky was clean. But inside, something was rebuilding, slowly. At the precinct, analysts mapped Leon's transactions on a projected screen. 3 consulting payments from Amara Events Limited, $12,500. 15,000, $14,500, each routed to a dormant offshore account in St. Kitts. 2 of the accounts were flagged by Interpol, one linked to an insurance fraud case under review in Kingston. Another was pending in St. Lucia. Each policy contained identical language: marine accident, accidental death, sole beneficiary listed. Wells paced behind the analysts. "Compile it. We'll send the full map to the regional task force leads. Use red lines to connect the claims. I want the pattern to scream." Keyboard clatter filled the room. Printer hum layered beneath. Evidence lined the whiteboard like a spider's web. The net was closing. By noon, Wells's team cross-referenced Amara's debt history with her insurance activity. Payday loans and high-limit credit card usage ballooned just before each submission. Each loan preceded an application by no more than 30 days. But the paper trail crawled. 3 jurisdictions, 2 aliases, 1 P.O. box, dozens of PDFs and notarized letters, enough smoke to show fire. Wells tapped her pen on the desk. Debt breeds desperation and patterns. People like her repeat what works. She signed the expedited subpoena form and passed it to the paralegal. Fax machines squealed. The game was now federal. 2 days later, Amara stood in a magistrate courtroom. Navy blazer over an ivory blouse, her hair pinned back. She looked every inch the polished professional. Her attorney pushed for release pending indictment. "No flight risk, no prior convictions, fully cooperative," he argued. The prosecutor stepped up. "Your Honor, the defendant has access to cash reserves, offshore accounts, and an existing pattern of fraudulent activity across national borders. Release could jeopardize the investigation." After a moment's pause, the magistrate ruled. Conditional bail granted. Electronic monitor. Travel restrictions within New Providence. Violation of these terms will lead to immediate remand. The gavel struck. Amara gave nothing away. Outside the courtroom, Kahlil walked slowly to the holding suite. A glass divider separated him from her. No cuffs, just folded hands and a faint smile. He didn't want to ask, but the question came anyway. "Why me?" She tilted her head. Because you were easy to trust and hard to hate. That's rare. A beat of silence passed. Kahlil said nothing and walked away. Her reflection followed him in the glass, but her presence stayed behind. Jayden sat across from a therapist later that afternoon. The office was warm, filled with muted colors and the soft hum of an AC unit. A slow wall clock ticked. I ruined everything, he muttered. The therapist offered no immediate answer, only a patient nod. I stopped the wedding. I embarrassed Dad. I got someone arrested. The counselor leaned forward. You didn't ruin anything. You stopped something worse. Courage means speaking before it's too late. Jayden looked toward the window. Rain streaked the glass. I didn't want Dad to disappear. At the port office, Kahlil returned to work. The air smelled of diesel and iron. Forklifts moved crates as radios buzzed. He noticed the sideways glances, whispers near the vending machine. One client meeting was postponed. A logistics contract was delayed. Still, he showed up, clipboard in hand, on time. Storms pass, boss, the foreman said, slapping his shoulder. Just keep your hands on the wheel. Kahlil nodded. Reputation would take time, but he wasn't running. Back at the precinct, Wells met Leon in a dim-lit interview room. On screen, the cafe footage from Paradise Island played again. Timestamp, 12:41 p.m. Leon's card swiped. Amara's receipt from the same minute. Leon stared at the screen. His lawyer leaned in. You need to talk, he exhaled. She used me. I forged the forms. She promised half the payout after the accident. Said it'd be clean, no traces, just grief and a check. The lawyer scribbled notes. Wells let the silence linger, let him feel it. She reviewed the testimony and pulled up the parallel files. Same accident language, same marine clause, same 2-year contestability riders, same phrasing, different names, 3 policies, 3 men. One hand behind them all. With Leon's signed confession, the case expanded. Interpol red flagged the accounts. A prosecutor from Kingston called to compare notes, but extraditions moved slow, so the Bahamian court acted first. Cross-border fraud in preparation, Wells wrote in the case notes. Criminal conspiracy, attempted life insurance fraud. She briefed Rico later. She may not see prison yet, but she won't walk free. That night, the villa glowed warm. Jayden set the table. Kahlil stirred stew over a low flame. They ate slowly. No phones, no TV. Halfway through dinner, Jayden cracked a joke about Rico's cooking. Kahlil laughed, a real laugh, the kind he hadn't felt in weeks. Laughter returned, quiet but real, like a tide creeping back after the storm. Jayden leaned back in his chair. Feels like home again. Kahlil looked at him, then out the window. Rain tapped the glass. Thunder rolled faint and far. The ocean shimmered under the night sky. Not dangerous, not deceptive, just home. The Supreme Court of Nassau convened under heavy skies. It had been 2 weeks since the wedding disaster. Morning sun filtered through the courthouse's tall shutters, striping the wooden floors. Press clustered outside, lenses pointed like weapons. Inside, murmurs built a low tide of tension. Amara Wynne entered in a beige suit. Her wrists were free, but her face was guarded, shoulders squared like armor. She whispered to her lawyer as they took their place at the defense table. "We'll go for a plea," she said. Her voice barely carried above the shuffle of papers and the hum of ceiling fans. In the gallery, a reporter leaned toward her colleague. "The regatta widow faces the bench." Inspector Dara Wells stood. She outlined the fraud's pattern: falsified underwriting data, misdeclared marine activity, forged signatures, policy stacking. A map of jurisdictions lit up behind her, blinking red at each incident point. Amara's defense countered with claims of coercion. She acted under duress from Mr. Leon Frazier, previously convicted of embezzlement. Wells raised a remote, transcripts projected behind her, email headers, timestamps. She contacted him first. She coordinated the applications. She opened the payments. The projector fan clicked on. Words flickered across the screen. "She built the storm, Mr. Justice," Wells said. Her voice stayed even. Leon Frazier took the stand under a cooperation agreement. His orange jumpsuit caught the light. He fidgeted, pulling at the collar. The defense pounced. Why trust a convicted forger? Wells moved to the AV station. The screen showed 12:41 p.m. The cafe, the card swipe, then the email with the phrase, "You'll get your cut." Click, pause, click, replay. Leon lowered his eyes. She promised half after the accident. She lied to me, too. Kahlil stepped to the witness box. He wore a navy shirt, no tie. Calm. He walked the court through the day he signed the Atlantic Shield policy. He described the handwriting mismatch, the pre-filled exam, the confirmation email from Amara's alias. Then he paused. The night of the wedding, I was ready to believe her, until the evidence made denial impossible. The defense rose. "And you don't feel bitter?" Kahlil looked at Jayden in the gallery. "Truth doesn't wait for bitterness." The gallery stirred. A wooden bench creaked. Jayden sat straight-backed in the witness chair. His shoes didn't touch the floor. He held the flash drive tightly. "It's a 12-second clip," he said. "Recorded the night before," the defense objected. "Unverified digital file, unreliable." Judge Adams adjusted his glasses. "Admissibility depends on two standards, authenticity and relevance. Proceed." Jayden pressed play. A faint click, then Leon's voice. "Tonight we close it." Silence fell like a blanket. A cyber forensics analyst took the stand. He spoke precisely. "The file hash of the clip matches the one stored in the police evidence portal under receipt .0432. Chain of custody? Maintained without breach. Timestamp consistent with the wedding eve." The analyst printed the report. The courtroom printer hissed softly. "Integrity verified end to end," he concluded. The defense attorney sighed, flipping closed her binder. Faced with Leon's confession, digital logs, and cross-jurisdiction data, the defense requested recess. Jury murmurs rose like wind over surf. 10 minutes passed. Amara returned. Her voice didn't shake. "My client accepts a plea bargain. She waives trial." The gavel echoed like thunder. Judge Adams spoke clearly. "Record shows plea entered voluntarily." The court reconvened after lunch. The plea was accepted. Sentencing was postponed for 2 weeks. The state would evaluate restitution options. The prosecution requested remand. "Flight risk remains high," the judge considered. "Travel restricted, passport surrendered, weekly check-ins required." Courtroom clocks ticked under the sound of lawyers packing folders. "Until sentencing, Ms. Wynne remains under this court's jurisdiction." In a side room, Wells approached Amara. She sat with her hands folded neatly on the table. "It's not too late to tell the rest," Wells said. Amara didn't look up. "You still have the C," Wells added. "Just not to hide in." Amara whispered, "I already drowned, Inspector." Outside, Kahlil faced reporters. "Mr. Mercer, how do you feel about the plea deal?" He shielded Jayden with his arm and kept moving. "Justice isn't noise," he said. "It's paperwork done right." Flashbulbs popped. Horns blared from traffic nearby. Later, at a cafe near the courthouse, Rico stirred his espresso. Wells sat across from him. "Kid did good," Rico said. Wells sipped her drink. "Truth comes quicker when children speak it." They watched the courthouse door close behind the last journalists. "What now?" Rico asked. "Prep for sentencing," Wells replied, "and follow up on the St. Lucia lead." That night, Amara stepped from the courthouse lobby into humid darkness. The sea called faintly beyond the docks. She walked slowly. Not far, only to the car waiting under dim streetlights. The camera lingered, waves folded against stone. A breeze lifted her hair. The sea had been her stage. Now it held her story. The morning sunlight spilled gold across the Nassau waterfront, the air still and strangely warm. Inside the villa, Kahlil poured coffee in silence, the news murmuring in the background. He barely noticed the anchor's voice until a headline flashed across the bottom of the screen. Bail defendant Amara Wynne, missing after dive, accident off Curaçao. He froze. The mug hovered mid-air. He turned off the sound. For a long while, he stood without moving. The percolator hissed and quieted. Seagulls arced overhead, their cries thin against the calm sea. The sea took her anyway, he murmured. A knock at the door broke the silence an hour later. A courier handed him a slim envelope from the Ministry of Legal Affairs. Inside was a letter signed by Inspector Dara Wells. We received confirmation from Curaçao's coastal authority. Amara Wynne presumed drowned. Body unrecovered. Dive site unstable. Local file closed. Handwritten at the bottom, Wells had added, "Justice is complete, but not satisfying." Kahlil read it once, then folded the letter and placed it in a drawer, unread beyond that line. He whispered, "I've seen enough signatures for one lifetime." Jayden sat on the porch steps, tablet in hand, scrolling the same headline. His face held a storm of reactions: uncertainty, pity, maybe relief. "She finally met the water she wanted," he said quietly. A breeze rustled the palms overhead. The tablet screen dimmed in the light. Guess the sea keeps her secrets. That evening, Kahlil called Wells. Their conversation skipped past greetings. "Closure feels wrong," Wells said, "but maybe this stops the cycle." "I don't know what to feel," Kahlil replied. "It's okay not to feel peace. Just don't carry the weight forward." He looked out at the ocean. Sometimes peace just looks like distance. Later that week, father and son packed a picnic and walked to the cliffs near Clifton Park. The breeze smelled of hibiscus and salt. They spread a blanket beneath an old almond tree. Jayden was quiet, chewing a sandwich slowly. He stared out at the water. "You can talk about her," Kahlil said, handing him a drink. "She's part of what we survived." Jayden hesitated. Then, "Think you'll ever marry again?" Kahlil laughed. "One ocean's enough for me." Weeks passed. The world didn't pause. Kahlil returned to his consulting office at the docks. Paperwork awaited, stacked high. Colleagues nodded politely, some hesitantly. Clients whispered in corners. He noticed, but he kept going. Every form he read twice. Every clause double-checked. No signatures without certainty. "Paperwork nearly buried me," he told a new assistant. "Now it keeps me honest." Cranes echoed across the bay. The sea moved on. One night, under a starless sky, Kahlil walked into the backyard with the old policy binder in hand. Court had its copies. The originals weren't needed anymore. He placed the binder into a steel drum, struck a match, and watched it catch. Flames licked the edges. Ink turned to smoke. "No more contracts written in blind trust," he said softly. Behind him, the windows glowed with warm light. At her desk, Wells filed her final report under case number 2215. Closed, subject deceased. Her cursor hovered over the submit button. Before clicking, she opened the witness list and read Jayden Mercer's name again. She typed a short note into the record. "Courage runs in quiet families." She exhaled and clicked, submit. Jayden stood in front of his class a week later, holding a printout titled, "When the Truth Matters." His voice trembled on the first line, then steadied. He read, I learned that truth doesn't need permission. It needs courage, especially when silence seems easier. The final sentence. Heroes don't wait for permission. The class applauded. His teacher leaned down. Your father must be proud, Jayden smiled. I hope so. That night, the house smelled of burnt onions and ginger. Father and son cooked together, laughter rising like steam from the stove. They bumped elbows, argued about too much chili, shared spoons to taste. Laughter rang out, not as armor, but as music. Rain tapped the tin roof above. Peace sounds like this, Kahlil said. Rico showed up the next day with a carton of coconut water and a lopsided grin. He toasted with Jayden, then slumped on the couch beside Kahlil. They talked of storms and lessons, of futures, not files. Rico raised a brow. Next time, background check first. Kahlil chuckled. Lesson learned. They clinked glasses. It wasn't champagne, but it was enough. Twilight bled orange over the sea. Kahlil stood at the edge of the pier, barefoot. Jayden had gone to bed. The village was quiet. He looked toward the horizon where water met sky, the world vast but familiar. He whispered toward the wind, to the memory of Lena. I kept us safe. The waves lapped softly. Love rebuilt isn't weaker. It's wiser. The end. Have you ever seen the signs too late or trusted someone too much because your heart needed to? When justice comes wrapped in silence, would you chase closure or choose peace? If you've walked through betrayal and came out stronger, share your truth in the comments. Your story might be the lighthouse someone else is searching for. Please comment 1 if you liked the video, comment 0 if you didn't, and feel free to share why so I can keep improving the content for you. Hit subscribe so you don't miss the next story, and share this with someone who needs to hear it today. Your support means more than you know.